Hey everyone! The third season of ranked battles has already started, which means, it's time to suffer one last time to finally get the rewards. To alleviate the suffering of players, I decided to choose the 6 best tanks for this mode. It's not a top, just a list, and the tanks are in random order. Well, let's get started. So, the first tank, which is ideal for ranked battles, is STB-1. This Japanese has an incredibly powerful gun, the damage per minute of which can be boosted up to almost 4,000. At the same time, the average damage per shot is not that bad, as the accuracy and stabilization. In addition to the super powerful gun, STB-1, like any self-respecting medium tank, has excellent mobility, which is very important. Because ranked battles is a mode with dynamic battles, in which there are regular fights, and in fights have the advantage of those tanks, that are the first to take a position. I think you understand, good mobility, the key to success. As for the STB-1, it also has a strong turret and an excellent depression angle of the gun, as much as 14 degrees. Among the weaknesses, there is the weak armor of the hull. But in general, this tank is awesome. The second tank is Kranvagn. If you have played in ranked battles, you have already noticed that this tank is found in every battle, sometimes 2 to 3 units in each team. And it's chosen for a reason. After all, this Swedish heavy tank has the most armored turret in the game, without any vulnerabilities, and the gun's depression angle of 12 degrees. All this allows the Kranvagn to feel confident on hilly terrain. Plus, the Swede has a very interesting gun. Magazine for 3 shells with 440 damage per shot. Average damage per minute can be boosted to 3,200. Considering the fact that the Kranvagn is an autoloader, it's a very good figure. And, of course, mobility of this tank is good. Due to the combination of these characteristics, Kranvagn is, perhaps, the best tank for ranked battles currently. Among the minuses, there is a low average penetration and pretty weak hull. But if you use premium shells and properly take positions, this tank is a big problem for enemies. The next tank is the Czech VZ55. This tank is very similar in characteristics to the Kranvagn. It also has good mobility, and a gun with a clip capacity, but with some differences. It has a 2-shot clip with an average damage per shot of 490. And though damage per minute is not so high, but there is no problem with average penetration. Frankly, if you are a beginner or an inexperienced player, VZ55 is a better choice for you than Kranvagn. Just because it's more universal tank, and it's easier to implement. 2 shells instead of 3, and the hull armor is better. Certainly, Kranvagn is stronger in most situations, due to its turret, depression angle of the gun and damage per minute. But if you want simple and uncomplicated gameplay, the VZ55 is your choice. Well, let's move on. American Heavy Tank, M5Y. The branch of the WoT tanks was recently added to the game, but they have already managed to prove themselves, and the top tank, M5Y, is currently one of the best heavy tanks at tier 10. The first thing I would like to note is the excellent in all characteristics gun. This relates to both guns, by the way. Also excellent turret armor and more or less good hull armor. At the same time, M5Y has excellent mobility. I don't know if there's any point in talking about this every time, because each tank on this list has good mobility, because as said before, you shouldn't play ranked battles on slow tanks, otherwise you might just not make it and do 0 damage. That's obvious. So, as for the M5Y itself, I would compare it with the STB-1. They are similar in characteristics, except that the WoT has a less powerful gun, but stronger armor. Next there is a Soviet heavy tank, Object 277. This is less comfortable than the previous tanks, but very simple and uncomplicated gameplay tank. Object 277 has the best mobility among all heavy tanks of the 10th tier. At the same time, it has an incredibly armored turret, which is almost impossible to penetrate. The hull armor, in turn, is quite weak. However, this is a Soviet tank, and it doesn't care what kind of armor it has. It still somehow magically absorbs shells, especially its sides. As for firepower, the 277 is equipped with a standard 130mm gun, with 490 damage per shot. Excellent average penetration of basic and premium shells. Unfortunately, the gun of this tank has two significant disadvantages: its low damage per minute, and poor stabilization. Nevertheless, the WoT 277 is one of the best tanks for ranked battles. And, the last tank in the list, but not in importance, TVP T5051. This Czech medium tank is good primarily because of its firepower. It has a 4-shot clip. Average damage per shot is 320. Reload time between shots is 1.5 seconds. It's easy and pleasant to play on this tank. You burst in, do 1320 damage in 4.5 seconds, and left to reload. At the same time, full reload time is not very long, which makes the damage per minute pretty good. It's also worth noting the excellent mobility. TVP is really fast tank, and in terms of mobility there is no question. What cannot be said about the armor? Because the Czech has a very weak armor, so I would not recommend this tank for beginners. Gameplay on it is not as easy as on the same 277, although very nice. Overall, the tank is very cool, and again, perfect for ranked battles mode. Friends, I would like to say that these are my list. If your favorite tank is not in this video, it doesn't mean that it is bad. This is a game, and in a game the most important thing is to have a fun. Yes, in this game to have fun. No matter how it sounds funny. So if you like to play, for example, on light tanks, or tank destroyers, play it and have enjoy. You can also write in the comments, which tanks, in your opinion, are best for ranked battles. And I'd also like to briefly discuss, which tanks are definitely not worth taking in this mode. I'm sure the topic is very interesting for many players, but I don't want to make a separate video, so I'll talk about it here. First, you shouldn't take E100, Mouse, and Type 5 Heavy. These tanks are very slow, they simply don't have enough time to get to a position. Also, don't take tanks with low damage per minute, such as Rhinoceront and Karo 45T, because battles are quite fast, and it is important to have time to deal damage. Well, and in no case you should not play on artillery. It is a very bad thing in itself, especially in ranked battles. Okay. Thank you for watching this video to the end. I hope you found it useful. It's time to say goodbye. Good luck to everyone. And remember, don't play World of Tanks.